Hey everyone, Nick from Mossy Creek with this week's fly fishing forecast. Today is July 7th. It's Monday after July 4th. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. Hope you got a chance to fish and get out with the family and just enjoy some time. We had some really beautiful weather here coming off the rain last week. Looking into this week, looks like we're gonna have some more awesome fishing to come. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the water first. So we got a lot of rain last week. River went way up. We'll talk kind of more about what that looks like right now. But it does look like we may have some more rain coming. There's some slighter chances of rain the next few days, but midweek after kind of this warm stretch we're in, Wednesday, Thursday, look like pretty good chances of some thunderstorms. So keep an eye on that. As it's kind of been for the last month or two, a lot of these might be pretty isolated. You might get like one big pop-up storm in a place that drops a lot of rain and it affect like a very narrow fishery. So keep that in mind. We'll do our best kind of to keep everyone posted, but depending on where that lands, it may mean a lot for the greater area. It might be really isolated. We'll just see what happens. So nice and warm, gets a little bit cooler later in the week. Aside from those chances of thunderstorms, I mean, the weather looks awesome. Looks like a pretty typical southern pattern and a good time to get out there. So to get a little more specific, let's start with the mountain streams. A lot of our streams got a pretty good shot of rain last week. If you look at some of the gauges, depending on where that fell, some are starting to get a little bit lower. Some are like right at average flow, some are rolling. But for this time of year, I mean, we're in really good shape water-wise. I mean, the last couple of years at this point, brook trout wasn't even an option. So especially the streams that got a good bit of water, get out there and enjoy some of that fishing because we don't always have it this time of year. It's a lot cooler in the shade. You can get in the water, wade around, and have some good cool fishing, especially on these hot days. Those streams that are starting to get a little bit lower, especially on those hot days, maybe hit them in the early mornings and late evenings. Focus on your runs and riffles, your kind of most oxygenated, coolest, fastest water, as we're going to find a lot of those fish. But overall, the fishing's been really good. You may still see some yellow sallies coming off. And honestly, most of your terrestrials, your parachute Adams, your Royal Wolfs, your Humpies, whatever it might be, will do the trick for those brookies right now. So, like I said, don't typically have that option in July. Even by now, we're usually too warm and low for that, so take advantage of it while you can. Down here in the valley, the spring creeks are in awesome shape. Mossy Creek, Beaver Creek, Spring Run, they all got a really good shot of rain last week. You may, depending on how soon you get out and fish this week, you may find that some of them still have a little bit of a stain to them, but really good full flows. That's going to lead to some great fishing. Those cooler temperatures from the spring creeks are great on those warm, kind of hot summer days. They're always a good option, and the fishing's been awesome. The trico hatches have been thick and really consistent. So especially in the morning when you're out there, if you see fish rising in that like 6:30 to 8:30, 9 o'clock time window, chances are they're eating tricos. So, small little tricos, long leaders, lighter tippet, sight fishing those specific rising fish can be a lot of fun in the morning. And then once that spinner fall's kind of gone, it'll get them up eating our other terrestrials throughout the day. So a lot of times you'll find them to be really picky those first couple hours because they're like specifically eating tricos, having a couple different patterns because sometimes they'll be specific to like male or female or different colors. But as soon as those bugs are gone, they're already kind of up thinking about feeding on the surface, and your beetle and hopper fishing can be really good. Last week, especially early last week, we had some of our first few days where we saw a lot of beetles along the creek. You may have noticed it in your gardens or your plants, but there are a lot of bugs showing up. Those windy days, those days where people are walking around knocking stuff off, those fish are going to learn to get really opportunistic this time of year. It's one of my favorite times to dry fly fish the creek. We always talk about fish being opportunistic, but when you have beetles and these grasshoppers that are growing bigger and crickets and damselflies and all these terrestrials and different bugs that are falling into the stream off of a branch or off of a bush at any given time, trout really key in on that. They're willing to kind of sit there, and if something pops above their head, make a really quick decision. So, more so than some other hatches, you don't necessarily have to have a fish that's like on rhythm to have a chance at them eating it. So, like I said, early in the morning, if you see those fish on rhythm, try a trico, but later in the day, Your beetles, just fished alone. If you just want to kind of blind fish, we call it whack-a-mole, and just hit all the good spots, you can have good chances of catching them. And then as always, your dry droppers, your PMX, your foam hoppers, anything that'll float a nymph well, can be a great way to just prospect if you're not seeing fish come up. I've already had a couple of people come in the shop today talking about fishing Mossy and asking for some recommendations. One thing that I was talking about today that I think a lot of people don't think about that can be a really good tip for Mossy specifically, but kind of all streams, is to fish really dense nymphs with your droppers on these places where your channels aren't very long. So for instance, Mossy, there's a lot of places where the hole or the channel you're fishing is 4 feet long. If your nymph takes 4 feet to sink and get down to depth, you're essentially not really fishing nymphs in that hole when fish are down on the bottom wanting it down close to them. So a fly that gets down quickly, gets down in the strike zone right off the bat, and you get a nice long drift with it at depth can be really key. So as you're looking for nymphs for your dry droppers, try like a smaller, like 16 or 18 jigged tungsten beaded nymph that just gets really down quickly, and you might find that you have a little extra luck with that. But like I said, the spring creeks are fishing great. Pretty much everything I just said will fall into most of those categories. Get your dry droppers ready, use your streamers a little bit, especially have some color, and take advantage of that good cool water that we have right now. The tailwaters are in pretty good shape. Looked at the gauge on the Jackson. Looks like they had released a little bit from this rain, but it's back down to good weightable flows. So those tailwaters are another good option for those warmer days when our water temps start to get warmer later in the summer. Those are always a good cold option to go do some trout fishing. The larger rivers are getting back into good shape. We've got a couple floats out today. Reports are that there's about a foot of viz, depending on kind of what float you're on. Middle River got crushed in this last storm. It was like well above flood stage. So a lot of the dirty kind of muddy water in the system is coming from that. So each day we should get a little better clarity. Flows are at a really good place as far as like floating and fishing goes. It's just clarity that we're after. So as each day passes, especially if we can get by without many of these thunderstorms, it should get clearer and clearer. We're coming right into our peak topwater season. There's damselflies everywhere. We're hearing our dog day cicadas. The frog fishing's been good. So if we can get, good clear conditions, the topwater fishing should be awesome. As that river drops, it'll start to congregate fish, and we'll have some of our kind of typical summer pattern from here on out. So in the higher water, don't be afraid to fish some of your bigger streamers. Deer hair patterns, as it's getting clear, that draw a lot of attention, can be a good topwater option. And then critter mites, clawdads, anything that's heavy, kind of bounce along the bottom, is always good when those fish can't see super far. So it's awesome to sit here and be talking about how much water we have. It feels like it's been completely the opposite the last few years. So even though we've had a couple individual days get wrecked by this high water, we're thankful to be in the conditions we are. We'll keep an eye on what happens the next few days. Hopefully we'll just kind of get small storms that replenish it, but don't really wreck anything. As always, we'll keep you posted, especially on isolated stuff as we get some of those storms, and try and let you know how things are looking. Feel free to give us a call anytime, whether it's on those conditions, questions about flies, questions about where to go. We're always happy to help. So give us a call, shoot us an email, or our favorite, come see us, and we'll talk to you next week.